Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sarasota, Florida, the 2012 United States Ultimate Championships going on. We are now in open semifinals action. Austin Doublewide taking on #1 seed Boston's Ironside. Two teams that had great quarterfinals wins coming from behind to get a victory, to get themselves into the semifinals game. And I'm excited to watch this matchup. Jackson, how about yourself?
I'm thrilled. You talked about two comeback victories for both these teams. Doublewide down 10-7 to GOAT. Was able to go on and win that game 14-11. Then moving on, Ironside down 6-3 to Chain. Then able to go on a 4-point run to take the lead 7-6. They end up taking half 8-7. Go on to win the game 15-13. Of course, in the other semifinals, going on a little bit later, Ring will be taking on Revolver. Ring upsetting Sockeye, beating them 15-9. Revolver went down just by a couple goals early to Machine, but was able to cruise to a victory. They win handily.
Doublewide starting this game on offense. Tim Garrett with the pull. We start off disc barely at half field for the Ironside offense. To pick up, that's George Stubbs picking up the disc in the middle of the field. And right away he goes to Peter Pryle, sends it sailing out the back of the end zone.
It's about 30 yards past Pryle. George Stubbs, 2011 Callahan Award winner.
You know, that's interesting. We were talking to the coach before the game. He said that that was a play they drew up in the Chain game. Worked much more successfully then. Now Doublewide with the chance to break. It's Kurt Gibson works it up the field to Kevin Richardson. Gibson gets it back. And a call on the mark.
It's a foul called. George Stubbs coming in on 2.
Just coming back in. Gibson swings it across the lost corn. And a foul on the throw.
Looked like it.
Disc goes back to lost corn. Peter Pryle gets his arm. Now Max Cook with the possession in the middle of the field. Swings around to Gibson. Gibson rifling it through a crowd, finds Max Cook. Garrett getting possession, 10 yards outside the end zone. Goes for the inside out flick, but George Stubbs is there, knocking the disc away.
Swats it away from Kurt Gibson. Stubbs getting the turn back. Now brings it in, marked by Gibson. Danny Clark in the middle of the field. Wind knocks that high release down. Doublewide looking for opportunity to convert. For their first break of the game. Gibson calls timeout.
Timeout called by Captain Gibson for Doublewide.
So as the players take a break, we will also be taking our first break. Please stay tuned for more first half action from Sarasota.
Welcome back to Sarasota, Florida. Doublewide calling the timeout, starting out on defense. They're going upwind, trying to get a break. These upwind breaks are very important It forces the offense to go upwind. We have a wind coming straight at our players. Very strong wind. If you've been paying attention to this weekend, it's been blowing all weekend long here in Sarasota.
As the tournament progresses, seems to get stronger. There's Richardson working some handler movement with Tim Garrett. Travel called. Stoppage of play.
Coming in on one, Kevin Richardson with the disc for double wide.
Richardson marked by Jack Hatchett. Now Richardson lefty dump to Gibson. Gibson marked by Stubbs. Garrett cuts up line, calls foul. On number 23, Rusty Ingold-Smith. Ingold-Smith out of University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Now disc checked in. Gibson has it. Dumps to Garrett. Garrett cuts up line. Gibson holds it, swings around to Cook. Now Gibson with it to Cook. Travel called on the throw.
Gibson really controlling the ball a lot on this upwind point. Him and Garrett, one of the strongest throwers in the game, and they're going to keep possession, be the resets. Everyone on double wide is confident that Gibson will be able to get it upfield or a swing into his player's chest.
Talking with the double wide coaches before the game, saying they're going with an upwind line and a downwind line. See Gibson, one of the better throwers around the league. Him and Garrett handling a lot of touches for double wide.
Some confusion on the field of what's going on. Stall count is coming in at 0. And who has the disc?
Looks like they're changing discs.
The disc is going back to Gibson for double wide.
And it'll go back to Gibson.
On the mark for Ironside, count coming in on 0.
Ironside doing a great job
Hang on, guys. Hang on.
with a goal line stand, preventing double wide from getting an easy break. Double wide push back almost to the brick mark. It's about 25 yards outside. And Rebel gets a hand on it. Max Cook able to stay with it. Centering pass to Garrett. Garrett gets to Gibson just outside the goal line.
Gibson looking for an open receiver, can't find anything. Foul called on the mark. Ironside really clamping down here.
Travel called. Observers.
Excuse me, that was a travel called.
Coming in on 8.
Stall count coming in on 8. A high count for Gibson. He's looking at Garrett. Probably going to look to try to go backfield immediately. And disc floats up. Garrett and Rusty Ingold-Smith both in possession of the disc. Contested stall, I'm sure. Still coming in on 8. Gibson trying to go towards the end zone, blocked by Danny Clark. Matt Rebels now bringing it to the goal line. Ironside's offense with another chance, and Rebels just trying to get it downfield. Peter Pryle was there. And
Jake Anderson with the D. Looks like there's a foul called on the throw. Max Cook and Rebels talking about it.
Can see this windy condition making it very difficult for even the top throwers of the game. Discussion on the throw. Observer's going to make a rule. An observer rules that it's no foul. So the disc will be a turnover.
And waves the foul off. Result is an
About the middle of the field on the sideline. Doublewide is going to get possession. Tim Garrett picking up the disc on the sideline.
Doublewide really crowding that sideline. Playing a vertical stack. Swings it over to Tank. Tank big pivots. Faking all over the place. Dumps to Loscorn. Loscorn flick up the sideline to Gibson. On the break side, Gibson puts a flick to Max Cook. Oh, and Max Cook, disc right in front of his face, unable to pancake it. The wind definitely affecting that Frisbee. Coming in very hot, a blade. See Gibson points, fires it. Disc is moving all around. Almost hits Max Cook in the face, and the disc goes up right away to Danny Clark. George Stubbs looking for him. Overthrows Clark. So lots of turns in this early point.
Yeah, we saw this, a similar thing happen in the double-wide revolver game yesterday, where the first point was very messy, a lot of turnovers.
I believe there was 9 turns that first point.
And then, yeah, later in the game, Revolver definitely turned it around. Doublewide, though, here on defense, in possession with the disc. Kevin Richardson, lefty backhand to Kurt Gibson. Gibson, another travel called on him. I wonder if the observers are going to step in and either talk to Gibson about being more sure with his feet, or Ironside about slowing down those travel calls. Now Loscorn on the sideline, centers to Garrett. Kevin Richardson to Anderson. Back to Garrett. Foul called as Peter Pryl and Jake Anderson have some contact.
Looks like they got their feet tangled up. Anderson just goes straight down. Garrett the around break to Gibson. Gibson looking for something. Finds Richardson. Now Garrett to Gibson. Right at midfield. Fakes the backhand. Breaks around with the flick to Anderson. Anderson marked by Pryl.
And a pick called in the stack.
Disc tapped in. Loscorn with it to Anderson. Disc flutters. Anderson unable to bring that in. Now Rebels to Clark up the sideline. Clark looking for Hatchet. Big mark from Kevin Richardson. Foul called away from the disc. Mike Nattenberg saying calling Mahoney pushed off. Nattenberg calling a foul. Another look in the center of the field. You can see Nattenberg pushed to the ground. Mahoney creating that space. Some more talking going on at the disc with Clark and Richardson. Will be coming in off stall 5. Loscorn sitting out in that lane, poaching the open side lane. Clark with it. Higher stall count, will be looking towards his dump. Looks downfield, no, right away, throws the backhand. Hits the cone, stays in bounds.
Yeah, Danny Clark got really lucky that that disc came back into play. Otherwise, it would have been a turnover. Doublewide would have had less than half the field to go.
Now Garrett picks up, marked by Rusty Ingold Smith. Garrett looking for something. Swings over to Gibson. Gibson marked by Stubbs to Loscorn. Nattenberg streaking deep. Gibson holsters the huck. Looks like Garrett's calling a foul on Ingold Smith. Down in the stack. Ingold Smith doesn't like the call. Disc will be coming on stall 7.
It goes back to 6, contested
on
stall.
6.
A contested foul.
Stall count getting high. Gibson forced to take a shot deep. No one's there.
We've seen a lot of deep shots from Ironside, not wanting to risk a short field turnover, but at some point you got to think that they just need to work it and keep the possession.
Ingold Smith not listening to you, Topher. They put it up right away. Kurt Gibson loses balance, but still able to go up and D it. George Stubbs thought it was going to sail over his head, especially with Gibson falling down. Gibson showing incredible body control to get that D. Now Nattenberg marked by Clark. Nattenberg looking for a dump, looking for something. Finds Anderson. Mahoney bids. Now Max Cook with it. Loscorn on the sideline. Loscorn marked by Hatchet. Clark a near D. Tank on the sidelines. Nattenberg to Garrett. Garrett inside break to Cook. Cook air bounce to Gibson. Doublewide moving the disc well. Getting a little stagnant here with Gibson. Then to Nattenberg. Only 10 yards out. Nattenberg finds Kevin Richardson. Doublewide gets a huge break on the first point. It's that upwind break. It's Nattenberg to Kevin Richardson. Looks like we have an injury. This can't be good. That's Kurt Gibson down in pain. The whole Doublewide team around him. Gibson limping. See if we can see what happened. There's the goal. Can't see it from that angle.
I wonder if Gibson had hurt himself previously in the point, and as soon as it ended, he was just able to check out and put himself down on the ground. Gibson, like we were saying, is going to be very, very important for this Doublewide defense on those upwind points.
Yeah, especially those upwind points. He was almost there every other. It was definitely Gibson and Garrett moving that disc up the field. Lots and lots of turns in that first point. Like you were saying, it was similar to the Revolver Doublewide game that we broadcasted yesterday. However, in that game, Revolver was able to score the downwind break. This time, Doublewide scores the upwind break on Revolver. Now Brody Smith in. Doublewide going with their downwind line. Smith with the big forehand pull. The blades over. Rolls out the back.
Jacob Taylor is going to take this disc to the front of the end zone. Christian Foster on the sideline. Upfield to Alex Capinos. Capinos, nice inside-out backhand, switching the field to Foster. Christian Foster being marked by Kieran Thomas. Ironside on a very important offensive upwind point.
Lots of calls early in this game. Certainly slowing down the pace of play. There's Jacob Taylor with it, marked by Ryan Bigley. Taylor tries to squeeze it into Alex Cooper. Doublewide defender reaches in and D's it. Now Brody Smith picks up, marked by Alex Capinos. Kieran Thomas in the end zone. Brody Smith with the hammer. Jacob Taylor's there, two-handed D. Gets position, moving the disc quickly up the field to Will Neff. Brody Smith poaching the deep lanes. Will Neff all the way around to Teddy Brower-Jarris. Up the field to Capinos. Capinos throwing the backhand. Brody Smith is there. No Ironside player around. Smith lets it sail to the ground. Now Smith just unloading from the back of the end zone. Puts it to Cole Sullivan. Sullivan, big bid. Disc is out of bounds. Doublewide not scared to throw it deep in this wind, especially downwind.
Yeah, this game is going to be all about how the offense can work it upwind. Both teams are just going to try to punt it on the downwind side, play defense, and get a short field turn. Will Neff gets a disc on a high stall count. Upfield to Josh Marquette. And a pick in the stack. Looks like Will Driscoll got caught up behind Chris Gibson. Driscoll marking Will Neff. Capinos upfield to Foster. Nice one-handed grab by Foster.
Just in front of the reach of Kieran Thomas.
Another foul on the mark. Already a slow game because of the wind. And pick called upfield. It's tough for these receivers to get open because they need to stay so close to the disc. And on the pivot, Christian Foster comes into Kieran Thomas. A foul is called. The count is going to reset. Ironside about half field. Alex Cooper with the disc. To Will Neff. Will Neff able to break it around. And that disc is floating, a pack of people, and that goes out of bounds. No one's going to get a play on it.
It's Teddy Brower-Jarris with the flick. Brower-Jarris leading his team in assists so far this tournament with 7. Cole Sullivan picks up. Goes right through the hands of Will Driscoll.
There's a foul called on the throw.
Sullivan a little insurance there with the foul call.
Still in the second point of the game. Doublewide trying to get 2 breaks in a row. Another foul on the throw is going to go back.
Looks like Marquette took a Sullivan follow through to the midsection.
Yeah, Sullivan is very notorious for his backhand and getting the disc back on a foul. One thing that he does well is he releases the disc very late on his throw, so he almost always comes in contact with the body of his defender. Now Doublewide starting to work it a bit more. Up to Will Driscoll. Goes backfield to Sullivan. And again, discussion between Cole Sullivan and Marquette. Cole Sullivan, first-year player on Doublewide. He's been handling a lot. One of the top assist leaders for Doublewide, and that time trying to go for former Florida teammate Brody Smith. Easy D for Ironside.
It's Jacob Taylor with the D. That's his second of the game. Taylor marked by Smith. Taylor throws the around backhand.
Wow.
Big grab from Alex Capinos. Capinos calling the foul on Ryan Bigley.
Get another look at this grab. Innovative throw. I really like that.
The outside in backhand?
Well, the outside in backhand, but he throws it out of bounds knowing that the wind is going to bring it back in. And luckily, a big receiver in Alex Capinos is able to pick it up out of the air before it gets into the middle of the pack. Capinos trying to switch fields on the flick.
Looking for Brower Jarris. The wind is howling right now.
Through the hands of Kieran Thomas, and slightly better field position for Ironside. As Alex Cooper goes to pick this just up. Alex Cooper, a first-year player on Ironside. Strong throws in the wind.
Will Driscoll reaches through, gets the D. He's streaking deep. Sullivan puts it to him. Driscoll all alone in the end zone. Doublewide taking the lead, 2-0. Opens the game with two big breaks. They are fired up as their team rushes onto the field.
Will Driscoll, great receiver. We saw him all summer on the Next Gen Tour.
We're going to take a quick look here to see how these teams went through the bracket to get here. You see Ironside beat Shane 15-13. Moving on, Doublewide, as we said, came back on GOAT. They were down 10-7, able to win 14-11. Revolver takes care of Machine, no problem. And Ring upsetting Sockeye. The 10 seed in the tournament takes down the 3 seed. They win 15-10. Pretty good start here for Doublewide. Up 2-0, 2 breaks. Looking at a chance to get possibly another upwind break. Much different than what we saw yesterday against Revolver as they went down early, 5-0. Now going up 2 on Ironside. Tim Garrett set to pull. Upwind, able to get it past the brick. Now Matt Rebels, marked by Gibson. They played a lot together in college, or against each other in college at Wisconsin and Florida. Stubbs with it on the sideline, 2 Callahan Award winners. Pryal, marked by Loscorn. Marquette just at midfield. Rebels swung over to Gibson. Gibson to Clark. And Jake Anderson, a huge layout D. He explodes to the disc.
Fantastic play by Anderson when Ironside was just looking very smooth in their offense. A huge opportunity for Doublewide. And Nattenberg sending the disc downfield.
Looks like there is a call.
And Rory Orloff.
Will it matter? Orloff going up over Jim Foster. Orloff, the much shorter player. Looks like there was a travel called.
Uncontested travel call. But still a great play by Orloff. If he doesn't catch it, it's an automatic turnover. At least he's giving his team the possession of the disc after the call.
Jim Foster been a big receiver for this Ironside team for a number of years. Orloff giving up at least 6 inches to him. Able to read that one and bring it down. Could hear the crowd ooh and ah after that grab.
Nattenberg goes to the observer just to be safe. He has nothing to lose getting an observer ruling.
Looks like there was actually a travel before the Nattenberg throw, travel on Anderson on the throw to Nattenberg. That was Danny Clark with the call. Anderson has 2 dumps right now. Nattenberg in the lane, marked by Alex Cooper. Nattenberg, that low pivot. Jim Foster getting a D, looking deep. George Stubbs picks up. George Stubbs throws the flick around. Oh, Alex Cooper almost able to keep it in.
I'm not sure if I agree with the observer ruling. They're calling the disc is out where it crossed the out-of-bounds play. Alex Cooper made a play from inbounds and got a hand on the disc. That should be down where the offensive player touched it. Observers are letting Doublewide have it upfield, though. This could be big for them.
I think what the observers are ruling is that Alex Cooper was out of bounds when he made that play. And Ironside gets the disc back. And Josh Marquette finds Danny Clark. Jake Anderson cannot close the gap. The disc rides the wind right down into the breadbasket of Danny Clark. Outside in backhand. Anderson is closing. Anderson already made a spectacular defensive play. It's like it was right there in front of him. Sometimes when you're that close, you don't know if you can get there, and then afterwards you think, oh, I should have bid, I should have bid.
Let's take another look at the out-of-bounds play. It didn't affect Ironside, they still scored, but taking a look at Alex Cooper, if the observer
like
must be
he's
saying
out.
his knee would be out of bounds.
Right?
But when contact is made, his knee is still in the playing field proper. I think that should have been a turn down on the goal line for Doublewide. But Ironside still able to get it on the first pass. And a quick transition offense gives them their first score. And Ironside, after a long 2 points, they get their first score. They're certainly still a close game, even though it seems like Ironside has not been winning the battles that they want to.
Yeah, there have been a lot of turns, but they're only down 1. There's Will Neff with the pull, 2009 Callahan Award winner last year. Did not play with Ironside. Took a year off to play mixed. Here's Tim Garrett putting it up. Chris Gibson there, and Ingold Smith with the D. Almost looked like a punt on that one.
Yeah, high count, and Garrett's not going to take any chances on a short field turn.
For the first point of the game, we're seeing Doublewide come out in that big zone, the 4-man cup. These Florida players brought it over with them as it originated at the University of Florida. There's Ingold Smith ripping a backhand to Christian Foster. Foster burns timeout right in front of Kurt Gibson. As the players take a break, we will too. Please join us for more first half action here at the 2012 Club Championships.
here on the Showcase Field in Sarasota, Florida for the 2012 USA Ultimate Club Championships. We are watching open semifinals, Doublewide taking on Ironside. And Ironside started this point on defense. They are working the disc upwind. Christian Foster in possession. If Ironside is able to get this point, they get a big break upwind and get an opportunity to make the double-wide offense work it upwind. This disc gets tapped in. Christian Foster sends it off to Will Neff on the sideline.
Oh, Russell Wallach. Big drop there. That's the second big drop we've seen in that end zone. First time from Max Cook. And Cole Sullivan ripping a backhand, not wasting any time. This one's going out of bounds.
Unplayable, but gets downfield.
I don't think Doublewide or either of these teams really want to work it down the field when they're going downwind. It's much more advantageous to force the other team to work it 60 yards. Almost a turnover there. The game plan almost plays off. Will Neff with it. Now Alex Simmons at the University of Wisconsin. Jacob Goldstein calling strip. Ryan Bigley doesn't like the call. Looks really close from that angle. Looks like Goldstein did have possession, but it looked like Bigley was there at the same time. So observers can't make a ruling. Disc is going to go back to Alex Simmons. You can see it's very, very windy down there.
Looks like Alex Simmons is calling a double team on the cup. This is something that we see a lot, especially last year. Doublewide had a lot of issues getting the double team call, same as when this was a strategy at Florida. Coach Kyle Van Auken told us before the game they are really trying to make that cup a legal cup. And on Alex Simmons' crossfield hammer isn't successful.
Oh, Will Neff, he is blowing up right now. You can hear the crowd. They do not like it. Will Neff with a spectacular layout D.
Oh, that should count. Observers are ruling no foul. Will Neff getting in front of Chris Gibson, and the crowd in support of the play. Will Neff is certainly a fan favorite.
Neff showing some fire after that D. Getting right in Gibson's face. Now Goldstein with it. Big windup. Anderson runs through him. Causes Goldstein to fall. Goldstein's calling a foul. Anderson maybe contesting it. Now it's in Goldstein's hands. That four-person cup. Montgomery Butler back to Goldstein. Goldstein fakes hammer. Goes to Neff. Neff fakes backfield. Neff played his college days at the University of Michigan. Now Alex Simmons around to Neff. Neff to Wallach. Wallach able to pancake that one to Neff. Marked by Richardson. Neff with the low hammer. Anderson with the second D of the point. To Gibson. Garrett just outside the end zone. Bigley open in the back. Garrett fires the backhand at Jake Anderson. Excuse me, that's Kevin Richardson. Unmarked by any Ironside player. Doublewide takes the lead 3-1, able to convert that offensive point. Ironside certainly had their chances as they were up near the goal line. Russell Wallach with a huge drop earlier in the point.
Russell Wallach is going to be kicking himself in the behind all day for that drop. A crucial point. And he was wide open. We saw that happen in the first point with some double wide players. Huge disappointment for Ironside. Still in this game. I gotta wish they had that one back though. Ironside offense set to go downwind. Peter Pryle, Jacob Taylor, Danny Clark, Matt Rebels, George Stubbs, Alex Capinos, and Josh Marquette.
Double wide defense, Kieran Thomas, Will Driscoll, David Melicone, Mike Nattenberg, Jeff Loscorn, Max Cook, and Rory Orloff. Pole sails out of bounds. You know, a long point like that certainly gives Ironside's offense a lot of rest. They're able to get their legs under them. See if their strategy, yep, it holds true. They go right downfield looking for George Stubbs. He falls. Kieran Thomas D's it. Now Ironside forcing double wide to go 70 yards and a 30-mile-an-hour wind right at your face. Melicone picks up, marked by Jacob Taylor. Nattenberg out in the lane, marked by Capinos. Nattenberg fires across the field to Max Cook. Max Cook bounces off his hands. Marquette with the push pass to Peter Pryle. Peter Pryle scores on Will Driscoll. That time, the punt downfield worked for Ironside. They're able to force Nattenberg to try to swing it all the way across. Max Cook, the second drop of the game. Bounces right off his hand. Marquette not wasting any time. Picks up a little flip to Pryle. Pryle seems to be scoring many goals this tournament for Ironside.
Yeah, Peter Pryle has been a great receiver for Ironside this year and in the years past. Certainly become a name on the offensive cutter side that people respect. And we see another goal on the downwind side that happens on a quick transition. Ironside, just one pass able to put it in. Double wide did something similar when they scored last point.
Got a D-line here for Ironside. Teddy Bauer, Jarrus, Seth Reinhardt, Jack Hatchett, Colin Mahoney, Alex Simmons, Will Neff, and Alex Cooper. Spinning backhand pull, sails out of bounds.
Looks like Loscorn is going to pick up and bring it to the center of the field on the brick mark. Double wide and a side stack. Will Driscoll isolated in the lane. Kieran Thomas gets it under. And Driscoll finds Max Cook. Smooth offense from the double wide team.
It's a nice flat, low throw from Will Driscoll finding Max Cook. Hits Cook right in stride, makes it a lot easier for Cook. He can just clap catch that one, run it down. Pushes double wide's lead back to 2.
Yeah, Will Driscoll is a young player that's become big on this double wide team. As we mentioned before, he was on the Next Gen Tour this summer, still in college at the University of Texas, going into his senior year, I believe.
Yes, his senior year. That'll be his 4th year playing Ultimate.
Yeah, and
very impressive the things he can do with the disc after only playing for 3.5 years. A lot of these players out here have had a disc in their hands their whole life. Their parents played Ultimate, or they played in high school. Driscoll, not the same.
So as we mentioned, the first few points, kind of sloppy on both ends, but now as teams have adjusted to the wind and the pace of what the other team's defense is giving them, we're seeing much quicker offensive points. Tim Garrett's pull. Down the full length of the field as Matt Rebels picks up. And he sends a floating pass to George Stubbs. As Tim Garrett on him. It's floating out the back. That thing is going all the way into the parking lot.
That was a deep ball. I think Rebels would have had to thrown that from the back end of that end zone. It probably still would have sailed out of bounds. Just caught an edge and sailed. Double wide with an opportunity. We're get 70 yards up the field. Get a break. Garrett with it. Swing to Cook. Melicone. Marked by Taylor. To Gibson. Double wide going back.
Max Cook saving it from the ground. Disc catching an edge and getting pushed down quickly.
Sounded like that throw was almost hand blocked or tipped as Gibson threw it. Max Cook able to jump back, maintain possession. Just before the disc touches the ground, Cook gets his hands under it.
It's a pick called on the field, but it doesn't affect the pass. Kevin Richardson going to keep possession on the sideline. Centers to Gibson. Gibson back on the field after going down after the first point.
It's Orloff with a drop. Marquette looking for Clark. Disc blades and rolls out of bounds. Double wide gonna get possession back here. On that turnover from double wide, looked like Tim Garrett and Rory Orloff thought either of them was gonna catch it. They thought the other one was gonna catch it. Maybe a little bit of a late reaction. Here's Garrett with it, marked by Rebels. Now Gibson, putting it to Kevin Richardson. Alex Capinos is there. Disc just cut down in the wind. Richardson stops the roll. Taylor picks up, marked by Melicone. Centers to George Stubbs. Swung to Marquette. Now Capinos with it. Fakes the forehand. Inside to Danny Clark. Clark marked by Anderson. Dump to Pryl. Pryl marked by Orloff. Jacob Taylor. Josh Marquette with a big layout. However, his hand hit the ground first. Double wide gets possession. Now Garrett with it, swung over to Orloff. Cook is wide open. Double wide's at midfield. Cook fake. Marquette dives on the mark. Now to Garrett. Garrett throws the backhand.
There's a stoppage on the play. It's going to go back. I can't wait to get another look at that layout grab from Josh Marquette. The observer calls him out, but I think his foot hits the ground. That's the second time the observers have made a call that has affected Ironside's field position.
Looks like we're getting an injury sub here. Kevin Richardson. Will Driscoll will sub on. Stoppage of play, must have been the injury. You can see right there, Marquette's foot is in before any part of him touches out. Gibson with the disc. Stahl will be coming in on 2, marked by George Stubbs. Gibson to Orloff. Orloff inside to Driscoll. Driscoll looking for a dump, finds Gibson. Driscoll streaking deep. Now Gibson around backhand to Melicone. Melicone fakes the low backhand. Dump to Gibson. Gibson sees Max Cook. Max Cook unguarded by Marquette. Now Marquette tightens up. Cook to Gibson, just at midfield. Gibson sending it deep to Tim Garrett. Tim Garrett makes a grab. Observers, all 4 of them with their hands in the air, signal goal for Doublewide. That's their second upwind break of the game. Doublewide taking the lead 5-2 over the number 1 seed, Boston Ironside.
And it looks like Ironside is going to take their second time out here of the half, wanting to regroup before they have to face a very, very important offensive upwind point on their timeout. We're going to take a quick break too. Be back here for more semifinals action at the USA Ultimate Club Championships. Welcome back to semifinals action in the club championships here in Sarasota, California.
I believe it's Sarasota, Florida.
Florida.
Topher.
This is like the 3rd time I've said Sarasota, California.
Well, we're from the West Coast. It's all right. Over on the East Coast, got first half action. Doublewide up big on the number 1 seed, Ironside 5-2, getting 2 upwind breaks. Ironside needing to collect their thoughts. Josh McCarthy, head coach, calls a timeout. Out of timeout, Kurt Gibson with the big forehand pull. Will Neff knocks it down. Centers to Alex Cooper. Cooper to Neff. Neff marked by Cole Sullivan.
We see a man look from Doublewide.
Stall count's getting high, and looks like Neff had nothing. No one was cutting to the live side. He didn't have anything coming at him. Forced to throw it down, putting it up to Kurt Gibson. Gibson, easy D. And Will Neff, second big layout D for Neff. Welcome back, Mr. Neff.
Yeah, a huge defensive presence. He's willing, a big guy who's willing to put his body on the line, able to make up a lot of ground on that D. And also one of those big game plays of when you have a turn, you feel responsible to get that disc back.
He's just able to make up so much ground with those long arms. Just leans forward, explodes to the disc. Looks like we have some discussion here about the stall count. Will Neff saying he called fast count. Observer explaining exactly what's going on.
Disc will come in stalling 6.
Neff's throw is low, looking for Russell Wallach. Now Doublewide with an opportunity to go up 6-2 on the number 1 seed. Gibson marked by Brower Juris. Travel called.
Gibson. Gibson with those big pivots, moving his pivot foot.
Gibson rifles it to Orloff at midfield. Orloff looking for something. There's Dalton Smith, marked by Kristen Foster. Kristen Foster finds Gibson. Almost out of bounds. Observers rule in. It's Andrew Walsh with it, dumps to Gibson. Now Anderson cutting up line. Gibson to Dalton Smith. Smith to Gibson. High release throw to Jake Anderson. Orloff 10 yards outside. Orloff puts up the scuba. Catches a win, stays a little high for Sullivan. Neff, Sullivan, both there. Now Neff with it. Marked by Sullivan. Lots of movement downfield from Ironside. Brower Juris winds up for a big backhand, holsters. Now Alex Cooper with it. Looking at his dump, Foster's there. Believe that was a pick called. Excuse me, that was an uncontested foul. Coming in on 0. Cooper looking for Neff.
Goes upfield to Alex Simmons. Cole Sullivan, who is guarding Simmons, calls a pick. Simmons trying to argue he didn't have a play on it or even wasn't within the 10 feet to call the pick.
10 feet. I mean, right now he's 30 feet away from him. So you look here, can't really tell the distance from that angle. Simmons is certainly downfield of him, but from there you see a good 20 or 25 feet between the two players.
I'd be surprised if the disc goes back. At the very least, Cole Sullivan could catch up
to the 10 feet, but the disc is looking like it's going to stay with Simmons. There Sullivan is gaining his ground.
Making up a lot more steps than he lost on the pick.
Now Simmons with it on the sidelines. Josh McCarthy really impressed with Simmons' play this tournament, really stepping it up. First-year player out of Wisconsin. Brower Juris to Russell Wallach. Ironside needing this goal. There's Cooper with it.
Nice shot by Russell Wallach on the inside-out flick.
Bodies go flying. Disc ends up with double wide. Now Andrew Walsh on the sidelines. Gibson flying down the field. Not seeing any action downfield from double wide. Low throw from Gibson looking for Sullivan. Alex Smith, the bid attempt. Now Ironside has it just at midfield. Alex Cooper to pick up. Orloff on the mark. Ironside in a vertical stack. Foul called in front of the stack. Will Neff trying to cut to the live side. Jake Anderson not allowing him to cut. Neff doesn't like the contact. No contest from Jake Anderson. Low throw from Cooper to Neff. It works out. Neff to Foster. Foster marked by Smith.
Foster 15 yards outside the goal line for Ironside. This is a huge point for their offense to put it in, give their defense a chance to get on the field. And Foster sends it into the pack. A lot of contact.
That disc was teed about 4 times. Wow. Kevin Richardson gets the initial touch on it. And Andrew Walsh able to poke it away from Montgomery Butler. It's definitely going to be some conversing going on. Looks like Montgomery Butler will be calling foul. Oh, Russell Wallach also there. Had Walsh not hit it away, Wallach could have made an easy clap catch. That's Mitch Dengler in there explaining what will happen.
Calls a foul. Observer rules that it is a foul, so it's going to stay with Montgomery Butler.
Really surprised to see that, especially with so many people in there. There's always contact when there's 3, 4, 5 people and a floating disc.
Yeah, so the disc will come in live, and Butler will be able to walk it to the front of the end zone where the stall count will start. There we see the disc get tapped in live. Players can move. Butler on the goal line. Tries to pivot around and steps through Kevin Richardson.
Montgomery Butler came over from Slow White. Played years with the mixed team. He's a veteran on Slow White. Neff and Anderson discussing the positioning of Anderson.
Very crucial that Ironside can punch this one in here.
They're only inches from scoring, right on the goal line.
Of course, they don't have a timeout. They've already used 2. If they were to try to use one, it would result in a turnover. It would be a costly mental error.
You know, if Ironside turns it over here, Doublewide is going to be throwing it immediately down the field.
Given this wind, it might even get to us in the booth. And in front of Will Neff, just out of reach. Kurt Gibson picks up, takes to the goal line.
Gibson rifles to Orloff. Definitely going to get another look at that. Lots of indecision as to whether or not it was down. Observer is ruling that it was down.
I assume that was a celebration by Montgomery Butler.
It's very, very close from that angle.
Yep, Orloff is going to tap the disc in live, and Ironside getting a lucky break. Still less than 5 yards outside their goal line. Brower Jarris with the disc. And Kurt Gibson, huge goal line D. We've been talking about his throws, but he is certainly known for athletic plays and explosive defense, and they're laying out
Puts
big.
his body on the line.
Gibson picks up and calls a timeout on the goal line. That is going to be the last timeout of the half. We're going to take a timeout too. Be sure to be back here on the NGN Network for the conclusion of our half.
Welcome back to the 2012 USAU's coverage of Nationals here in Sarasota, Florida. Doublewide looking to extend their lead to 4 over the #1 seed Ironside. And right away, Gibson sending it downfield, looking for Cole Sullivan. It's very, very windy here. We're playing a field position game, and right there it works. Neff looking for Brower Jarris. Jarris with the drop. Gibson to pick up, marked by Russell Wallach. Cole Sullivan in the front of the stack. Gibson to Sullivan, marked by Neff. Neff tight on the mark.
And a foul called in the stack.
See Jake Anderson there on the ground.
Ironside able to set their defense. Anderson burns past Christian Foster. And that's a goal. Christian Foster looked like he had something to say to Jake Anderson.
Christian Foster, a very fiery player, playing out of Carleton, also played at Amherst. Not wanting to fall down. You can see Foster following Anderson, had some words. Might be some sort of PMF or TMF issued.
I'm not sure. I can't tell if he's calling a foul. It looks like he was trying to. And Christian Foster just earned Ironside a TMF. Mitch Dangler gave that to Doublewide. It looked like he was looking at Foster.
I did see him single two. You can see Anderson jawing at Foster. Big lead here for Doublewide, up 4 points on Ironside.
Yeah, and an upwind, downwind game like this, when they get those upwind break points, it makes it a lot easier on their defense to get that second break immediately after when the offense has to work downwind. Now Ironside facing a large deficit, down 6-2. Working downwind on offense, something that you would think they have the advantage of, but they've been struggling so far in this game, only scoring 2 downwind points.
Doublewide having scored 2 upwind breaks, also 2 downwind breaks. D-line here for Doublewide: Driscoll, Thomas, Melicone, Loscorn, Nattenberg, Garrett, Cook. Pull from Garrett, Pryle picks up, centers to Taylor. Now Marquette. In the middle we have a pick called. Max Cook trying to set the mark. Collides with Taylor as he's clearing out.
Seemed to be one of the first short passes that we saw an offense take down on that end of the field. Ironside maybe switching gears, trying to keep possession of it. See how long this will last at a high count. High release to Jim Foster. Center of the field, moves up to Rebels. And Garrett calling the travel on Rebels. As we mentioned, Matt Rebels and Tim Garrett, big rivalries in college, the University of Wisconsin, the University of Florida. Just gets back into play. Peter Pryle on the sideline. Upfield to Foster, and he continues to George Stubbs. George Stubbs gets his first goal of the game. Ironside offense able to punch it in, 6-3.
That's a big goal for Ironside. Over in other semifinal action, Revolver up on Ring of Fire 2-0. That's a big point for Ironside. Able to cut the lead, Doublewide's lead only to 3. Now Ironside needing to dig deep, needing to get one of those upwind breaks back. Ironside really trying to fire themselves up.
Neither team has a timeout in this half.
See Christian Foster back on the field. I don't know if we're going to see him matched up on Jake Anderson. D-line here for Ironside. Alex Simmons, Montgomery Butler, Eagle Smith, Foster, Goldstein, Hirschberger, and Mahoney. Cole Sullivan picks up, centers to Loscorn, marked by Goldstein. Flustering mark. Loscorn falls over and puts it up to Nattenberg. Nattenberg tracks it down. Travel call here on the throw from Loscorn. Get a look. Looks like there is a travel. Definitely some contact created by Goldstein.
Yeah, I thought initially Loscorn was going to call a foul on the throw. Observers are upholding the travel call. As the disc gets tapped back in. Nattenberg in the center of the field.
Alex Simmons almost to Dion Garrett. Nattenberg bricks distance outside the end zone to Loscorn. Loscorn marked by Ingold Smith. Loscorn, the flip to Nattenberg. Ingold Smith is calling foul on Jeff Loscorn. Observer rules no foul. Doublewide puts it in. Takes the lead 7-3 on Ironside.
Doublewide 1 point away from going into half.
Revolver scoring again in the other open final, or semifinal. They take the lead 3-0. Ring calls their first timeout as they try to regroup.
Defensive line for Doublewide here. We have Valley Renshaw, Jacob Anderson, Brody Smith, excuse me, Valley Renshaw was not in. Jacob Anderson, Brody Smith, Kurt Gibson, David Melicone, Rory Orloff, Max Cook. And then number 19, Kevin Richardson, guarding George Stubbs as he streaks down the field. Goes to Peter Pryl on the sideline. Pryl upfield to Capinos. Centers to Marquette. Continues around to Taylor. Taylor getting in a high count. Tries to hammer, gets tipped, but Peter Pryl, great grab, and then continues to Alex Capinos. Alex Capinos with the goal, Peter Pryl's assist. And Alex Capinos there, great heads up play by Pryl, first of all, to get that and continue. And Capinos being guarded by Brody Smith was getting open at will. Brody Smith, of course, was injured for the majority of the season for Doublewide, had surgery on his knee, a slightly torn meniscus, and Alex Capinos getting it easily upline on the first pass, and then in the goal, Brody Smith wasn't anywhere near him.
Very difficult to change direction coming back from a meniscus surgery. Asked Kyle Van Auken if Smith was at 100%. His response was mentally, but not quite physically. Still in this win, having a player like Brody on the field, always dangerous with his throws. Some of the biggest throws in the game. Saw earlier in the game, he threw it from the back end zone and out the other end zone. Over
So-
there, Capinos getting the best of him.
A brief update on the calls earlier. We saw Ironside get issued one. It was actually their second TMF. Doublewide got a TMF earlier in this game for their double team on that cup. Now Doublewide on offense going downwind. Chance to go into half.
Nattenberg marked by Hatchet to Garrett. Now Sullivan marked by Neff. 7 yards outside the end zone. Dumps to Garrett. Garrett back end to Loscorn. One-handed grab marked by Stubbs. Looking for Garrett. Alex Simmons, a near D. Nattenberg just outside the goal line, marked by Hatchet. Nattenberg dumps to Loscorn.
A call on the field before the pass to Driscoll. I'm going to think it's a contested call, a contested stall. Observers say he got it off, so the disc will be at Loscorn. Doublewide still in possession, just outside their end zone with a chance to go into half. Going up line to Nattenberg, and Nattenberg can't get it. Difficult pass. And Ironside with the disc. Chance to get one of these big upwind breaks. Continues over to Stubbs. And Stubbs, wow, great save.
Laser looking for Mahoney. Marquette gets it. Swung over to Neff. Neff to Mahoney, marked by Driscoll. Mahoney looking dump. Now looks upfield. Elects for the hammer.
And it's pulled down
By, is that Jack Hatchet?
That would, yeah, Jack Hatchet bounces off a couple of Ironside players. Jack Hatchet reels it in, and a huge, huge point for Ironside.
Big turn of events right here. The captain, Nattenberg, has the disc in his hands, unable to get possession and score the goal. But George Stubbs is there. Tipped up in the air, Jack Hatchet catches and scores for Ironside. That was a huge point for Ironside. Instead of being down 4 points at half, Ironside gets the upwind break. The first of two they will need to get. They want to bring it back to on serve.
Yeah, and that upwind break really sets up a great opportunity for their defense on this point. You know, Jackson, as I was mentioning earlier, Brody had that surgery on his meniscus. He was looking slower. We're going to take a look how far behind he's getting. Jogging
Smith
up,
trailing there.
yeah, to the mark, and then just unable to even make a few explosive steps to make a play. It's not on this offensive line going upwind. Doublewide needing to score to take it to half, but having to battle a tough Ironside defense and a strong, strong headwind.
Of course, you want a player like Brody Smith on the field with his throws, but if he's trailing that much, you got to think he's more a liability than an advantage for your team. Doublewide moving it up the field. Melicone puts it up to Jake Anderson. Anderson's there. Mahoney jumps over. Jake Anderson almost grabs it.
2 drops in the end zone for Doublewide to take this to half.
Those are a couple of tall fellows making big plays out there. You know Anderson's going to be kicking himself for dropping that one.
Stubbs on the goal line. Scoobers over, and Alex Simmons behind everyone. Disc is floating. Nattenberg is there.
Alex Simmons with a huge grab. over the captain, Nattenberg.
Alex Simmons from the University of Wisconsin, a first-year player on this team. And Josh McCarthy was saying he's very impressed with this play, and that is one of the reasons why. Heads-up play to get downfield. Probably snuck past his defender.
See Max Cook switches with Nattenberg. Nattenberg trying to gain the ground. Jumps. Simmons had a much better read. Alex Simmons getting big.
Huge play. Wow, Ironside now right back into this game at 6-7.
It's going to be interesting to see how Doublewide responds to this charge that Ironside is putting on. 2 breaks back-to-back. Ironside did it against Chain when they came back in the first half. They were down 6-3, went on a 4-point run to go up 7-6. The other semifinal action, Revolver up 4-0 on Ring.
Man, Ironside, big plays to get themselves back into this game. Even if Doublewide does take it a half here, Ironside is in a much better situation with a small amount of momentum on their side. We have Tim Garrett with the disc being marked by Simmons. And Tim Garrett just getting it downfield on a hammer. There's a crowd of people, and Christian Foster knocks that one away.
You can see Brody Smith there. He's clearly limping. Looks like it was a shot to Smith. Richardson on the mark. Neff to Ingold Smith. Sullivan contesting the foul.
Ingold Smith trying to get it around that big 4-man cup. Looking for Hirschberger in the middle of the field. Elects to go to Neff. Neff on the goal line. Simmons. Christian Foster able to get it on the other side of the field. Continues up to Neff.
Now Doublewide changes the trap. Neff putting it deep.
That's going to sail out of bounds. It's a good look by Neff, switching the field. Of course, the wind takes it away, but Doublewide has to go a full length of the field. They don't turn it over in a short field. Of course, I'm sure Doublewide is just going to get it downfield again. There we see Kirk Gibson throw the huck, and Christian Foster, another D.
Smith really hobbling out there.
Ingold Smith, backfield to Neff. Right back to Ingold Smith. Forcing it through the cup. That's going to sail out of bounds. But another long field turnover for Ironside. They're not going to give Doublewide the easy goal here late in the first half. Excuse me. 50-50 ball in the middle of the field. And we're going to see what is happening there.
It's like a collision there between Sullivan and Chris Gibson. Ironside with it. We have a call on the field.
An important possession for Ironside at 6-7, a break. Would tie this game up. It'd still be down a break total. Switching the field with the hammer. Foster to Neff. And Neff, backhand, curling in. And what a catch.
There is a call on the field.
Travel called. Will Neff is going to go to the observer. Seth Reinhardt, good position to catch that one in the goal. Observer rules that this is not a travel. That goal is going to count, and Ironside has tied the game.
Ironside digging deep.
Will Neff has been playing fantastic all game. Some excellent deep D plays to keep possession for Ironside, and then doing it with his throws, getting it to an advantageous spot on the field, so that time when the disc is sailing, it's still staying on the field proper. And Doublewide having to go upfield to get a score to go into half.
They came back last time in their game against Chain, and they're doing it here against Doublewide. Doublewide very excited after going up 7-3. Now it's tied at 7s. Let's see how they respond. Doublewide trying to break through into the top tier, get to that finals. They made it to semis the last 3 years.
Yeah, for Doublewide to finally break into the finals game would be huge for them. Ironside has been there 3 times in the last 4 years. They know what it takes to win in the semifinals matchup.
O-line for Doublewide: Driscoll, Thomas, Melicone, Loscorn, Orloff, Cook, and Nattenberg. Nattenberg to Melicone. Melicone swings it out to Cook. Cook to Nattenberg. Nattenberg fouled hard by George Stubbs. No contest coming in on 0. Nattenberg to Cook, marked by Russell Wallach. Cook puts it up. Loscorn and Mahoney going for it. There will be a call on the field. I believe Loscorn is calling foul on Mahoney.
Yeah, with a little bit of float, Mahoney is able to come off of his defender. I think Loscorn has a good call there. Was at the disc. It's going to be a tough one, though. This whole game has relied heavily on observers and their calls. And the observer that time rules in favor of Ironside, no foul.
Mahoney been a big defender for Ironside the last few years, oftentimes marking up against Bo Kittredge. Very effective D player. There's Will Neff calling out plays. Ironside looking to take half here. Neff marked by Loscorn. There's Mahoney shrieking deep. Neff to Montgomery Butler. Now, Wallach putting the backhand. Mahoney's there, but Melicone reaches up and gets the D. Melicone brings it to the end zone line. Swung across to Loscorn. Loscorn throwing the backhand. Will Driscoll, two-handed clap catch. 10 yards outside his end zone, marked by Mahoney. And Doublewide finds Orloff in the end zone. They take half, stop the momentum for Ironside. It's a very big point, as Doublewide will be receiving the pull. Coming out of half.
A great first half from both teams. Ironside able to bring it back. Doublewide, of course, going to start the next half on offense. Please stick around to your interwebs. We are going to be doing an interview here on the Next Gen Network during halftime. Please stay close.
Great, thank you. I'm here during halftime with a very special guest, Tom Crawford, CEO, Dr. Crawford. Tom,
please, yeah.
From CEO of USA Ultimate, and obviously a lot of big news this week with the club restructuring as well as with the strategic plan. Just really briefly, give folks at home a little background on the restructuring for us if you can.
Okay, yeah, thanks. First, thanks for having me up. Really appreciate it. You guys are doing, as usual, a phenomenal job up here. We really appreciate it. It's exciting. So really exciting time for USA Ultimate right now. Strategic plan, 6 years, a lot of very interesting things packed into that after a lot of work with some smart people. And of course, one really important component of that is the new Triple Crown Tour, the club restructuring plan. And we're really excited about it. We think that it's a chance to tell the story a little bit better than we've been able to in the past, and also to put the sport on a bigger stage so that the general sports fan actually can tune in, follow, understand better than they have been able to in the past.
So obviously an opportunity to create some sort of standards around the regular season, if you will, the pre-series stuff, right, with a set number of tournaments. And you're looking to pull in some sponsors, now that we're going to hopefully have some more eyeballs on that. What's the game plan around sponsorships?
Yeah, so it's, the game plan is we'll do the best we can. And we think now that we have the kind of compelling story to tell that a sponsor in the past couldn't quite understand. So we've had sponsors say to us, for example, I can't get excited about Ironside Revolver. And television networks as well, by the way. We're making great progress on both of these fronts. So I'll try to wrap that together if I can. But when you talk about the Triple Crown Tour and you give them the brochure that we just created, and we explain this season, and it's Boston against San Francisco, then they're like, wow, and these teams are made up of what best athletes in the world. No kidding. Came out of our college program. They all understand the college program. So now with that kind of a story to tell, we can attract sponsors that in the past would have been like, I can't get it. I mean, I'm not sure how I'm going to sell my product into this marketplace and how I'm going to get exposure. So the simultaneous part of that is we're out now talking to major television partners about the possibility of putting us on a bigger and bigger stage.
So obviously that's great for USA Ultimate to be able to bring in sponsors and for the sport as a whole. Now we're asking a lot of these top teams and saying, hey, you have to travel to these events. Yeah. That's a pretty big cost on them. I mean, some of them are already doing a lot of that travel, but some of them aren't. How is USA Ultimate going to work with those top teams to help support them in those costs?
Great question. And we tried to be incredibly sensitive to the costs because these teams are all paid their way to get down here, and they're staying in houses and hotels and paying those costs. So our long-term goal, and this is long-term, this is not short-term, is if we can keep getting the sport on a bigger and bigger stage, we start to reverse the current situation. Let's talk television first, where right now we have to do barter deals to get on TV. So we're spending money to get on TV. And that's to fulfill the #1 goal in our strategic plan going forward, which is national exposure to non-ultimate players, right? To get rid of me, get rid of Tom Crawford's, where there's no sport fan left out there that doesn't understand that this is a really exciting sport. And by the way we do that is through exposure. Once the exposure gets big enough where the eyeballs get big enough, then the television goes from us having to do barter deals to them coming to us and doing rights deals. Once we get into that game, then we can start to drive the cost for the athletes and the teams down. Like other teams, or other leagues rather, you actually can start rewarding athletes and teams. We're a long way from that because there still aren't enough people following the sport. So that's one way. The other way is we're going to start offering prize money. And we're going to do that by charging admission. We're going to do that by a variety of new revenue streams, including the sponsors we talked about. And we'll take that money and we'll reward the teams that do well, so that it's, like a lot of other sports, the better you do, for now, the costs go down. And then hopefully not only do the costs go down, but you're actually able to maybe make a little bit of dough. That's going to take us some time.
Okay. Well, we have to wrap this up and get off the stream for the first half here. Join us definitely for the second half. Thank you, Dr. Crawford, for sitting down with us. I have a bunch more questions. Hopefully we can sit down again tomorrow during the finals. And another wonderful event from USA Ultimate.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and let's hope for a great second half here.
Thank you.
Okay.